Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say this week's guest is the Wizard of Wishaw, former world snooker champion John Higgins. And I say former world snooker champion with a heavy heart, John, because I looked at your run to the quarterfinals and I thought, you know what, he's going to do it again. Did you think that?
I don't know. I think the right person maybe won the event. Kieran Wilson, he was too good for me in the quarterfinals when we played. But it was disappointing because I had a good record against Kieran. I think I played him three the previous years there, and I'd managed to win. So I was quietly confident going into the game. But it goes to show you how tough a tournament is to win. Because I think when I did play him, I was a little bit drained. After I'd had a tough game against Mark Allen, come through the deciding frame, and then when I'm in against Kieran the first two sessions, I just felt as if I was drained a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was maybe down to the fact that he was outplaying me as well. So when you're sitting in your chair for a length of time, you can probably feel a little bit more drained than you actually are. But no, the right man won the tournament. He'll be a great world champion, I'm sure, for the year.
Yeah. And the thing about top line sport is that fact that it's fine margins. It's that margin where you need to be sharp. You can't feel fatigue because it can have an impact on you.
Of course it is, yeah. And you wouldn't say it's physical, the sport that we play, but it's mentally draining. And I think when you are maybe younger, you can override that, you can get through the events. But I think that, just talking from experience now, as you're getting a little bit older, the mental side of it is a little bit harder to deal with, I think, yeah.
Tell me psychologically, everybody, you know what it's like, Scottish people, when they're doing well, the whole nation gets behind you. And we are on a knife edge, and Mark Allen in that final frame, and you just clear up. I mean, at that point, did you think, oh, this is on? Because a lot of people are saying, look at the other semi-finalists.
Yeah. No, listen, you were looking at the draw. I mean, for all the players that say they don't look at the draw, it's lies. You do see a lot of the big names going out and different things, but they're all good players. They're all good players. And then, as I said, when I come through the Mark Allen game, he's provisionally number one in the world. It was a massive game to get through that. And it goes to show you how big the World Snooker Championship is. I mean, maybe throughout the rest of the season, you'd be lucky if you get a few text messages from people that are following events, but my phone, it blew up. See, at the end of that match, the amount of messages and good wishes for the rest of the tournament, different things, and it's a massive tournament, and as you said, it's a tough tournament to win.
Yeah. Was there any text where you looked and went, bloody hell, I haven't heard from him in ages?
There was a few. But no, all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me take you back then, because I thought it was I watched your chat with Stephen Hendry, and I thought it was a lovely moment when Stephen Hendry goes, I'm with one of the greatest snooker players of all time. And I thought to myself, wow, that must have made you burst with pride.
I know, listen, a lot of things. Stephen, he's doing well now. He lives in London now, obviously, and you see him at a lot of the events because he's obviously commentating different things. He's got a bit of personality now that he never used to have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's maybe running about with different people down in London. But no, when he's saying certain things, he was the one player. He was my hero growing up. I know Steve Davis was my hero, and when I was a young boy, and snooker was at his height in the 80s and different things, and it was on the TV all the time. Steve Davis was it. But then when someone from Scotland came along, it was Stephen, and you're thinking, God, this guy's going to be an amazing player, and he ended up being world champion. And I was lucky enough to spend a couple of years in Stirling practicing with him just before I turned professional. And I've always credited someone like Stephen and Alan McManus as well for bringing me on as a player, because I spent like a year or two practicing with Alan McManus just as he was turning professional in the Masters in Glasgow. And then when I signed up with Ian Doyle's management company for a couple of years, I got to practice and see up close how Stephen Hendry was as a player. And brilliant. You can't buy obviously experience like that. So yeah, it was incredible.
Isn't it amazing though, in every sport, the need for someone with experience or someone that you idolise, just to come into contact with them. It could be, a verbal exchange, or, as you said, that ability to practice with them. I ran into over the last couple of weeks Graham Souness, who talked about the great value of playing as a youngster at Middlesbrough and having Bobby Murdoch playing alongside him, who was a Lisbon Lion, and that learning curve was immense, and he paid tribute to him. And from your point of view, in any sport, if you get someone who's a master at it that can just part some of the gold dust onto you.
Oh, of course it is now. God, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you couldn't buy that experience that I was getting at that time in my professional life, playing with Alan, learning the safety aspect to the games, and watching the way he went about safety battles, and then a year later, 2 years later, going to watch Stephen Hendry, his break building, century after century, 147s, and just watching how he went about it. So subconsciously, you must have been taking things out of Alan and Stephen to obviously, hopefully, add into your game. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me take you back then. That first World Championship.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person who looks back with any great nostalgia and sentimentality? Is that the John Higgins?
No, I just look back and I tell my kids and I tell different people. It's more about the stories out with winning the title. As I say, like, obviously been a big football fan and what that afforded me to do, that I managed to go in and parade the trophy on the day that we stopped Rangers doing 10 in a row. These are the things that spring to my mind right away. It's not lifting the trophy up after beating Ken Doherty. It's basically the parties and that you had after it. So that's just the way.
Is there something that sticks in your mind though, that from that first one? Is there a particular? Is it that part where you walk out with 60,000 fans, or
that was incredible. Now my legs just turned to jelly, and see my family up in the seats where we've got at Parkhead, and then obviously when Brattbach scored the second goal, now he clinched like the title. Aye, but all kidding aside, then when you think about it, no, it was a funny moment because I'd seen Kyron Wilson do it, and that's the thing I always say is, like, I couldn't believe that I was actually holding the trophy aloft after watching it for so many years under the lights. Yeah. You look up and you seen, and I seen Kyron Wilson doing it because he must have heard all the champions saying it before. Like, actually, when you look up and you're holding the trophy and you think, I've done it for the first time. That's really when it sort of hit me that, God, no, just all your dreams came true at that one moment.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a sport that I love as a kid. Obviously from my own age group, I can still remember Ray Reardon being a fabulous player, and we used to watch Pot Black that was on BBC Two, and then I was lucky enough to have an evening with Steve Davis.
And very dry, isn't he?
Well, the funny thing is, you mentioned there that suddenly Hendry's got a personality. Steve Davis is funny. Yeah. His patter's great.
He's better than Hendry, I would say. But no, absolutely. Now, when people think Steve Davis, like, interesting, boring, different things, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, I'll tell you a Ken Doherty story though. I was at a big event we were doing out at Loch Lomond, and Ken was sitting at the table, and it was all these A-listers all there, and I'm out there battering everybody. And I walked up to the table and I said, "Oh, Ken, world champion!" I said, "You're not even the best player at the table. There's Hendry. He's won 7." He was just, you could see Hendry rolling about laughing. But Ken was a great player, and for you to beat him in the final was no mean feat.
Well, he'd stopped Stephen, I think, from winning 6 in a row the year previous in 1997. That sort of stopped Hendry's dominance. And then when I went to the tournament that year, I just beat Stephen in the British Open final, and that put me within touching distance as well of being world number 1. So it just depended how we both got on at that tournament. And Stephen lost in the first round to Jimmy White, which after all the years of like battering Jimmy in the final.
It's good to know that Jimmy's let that go, isn't it?
After Jimmy now getting battered, he beat Stephen in the first round. So then right away you're thinking, right, Hendry's out. Like, if I could go on and do well here, I could obviously maybe finish the season world number 1 as well. So and that's what happened.
Yeah. Do you think you had to beat a Stephen Hendry to give you the overall belief as a youngster that, listen, I can go and win this world title? Was there a specific moment like that?
No, see, to be brutally honest, Peter, as well, like, I think I've always held guys like Hendry and Steve Davis, just as you mentioned earlier on there with Graham Souness, with Bobby Murdoch, I just always held them too much a pedestal. See, any times that I did play them, I was probably playing the man more than I was playing the player, because you just look up to these people so much, and I've probably done it throughout my whole career, even though I beat them now plenty of times, but I've just always had that respect for these guys, the champions, that you think, no, they're unbelievable, like, champions.
Yeah, give me an insight into you as a person. Are you personally a glass half full or a glass half empty? Because I look at what you've won, and so many of the players would say, "Oh, John should have been up there in that 7 world title category." Does it rankle with you?
No, because you win what you win. No, I've never sort of looked back and. But if I was starting my career again, I would love to do things differently. You know what I mean?
Like what?
I probably wouldn't touch alcohol now, because I think now, like, I've never had a drink in about 5 years, and you think you just don't need it now. You don't need it in your life, and I think when you're growing up as a player, I think I was honest about it when I won my world titles, and at the start, you probably went out partying too much or just forgetting about it, and I never had that single mindedness to be like a Davis or a Hendry, to just keep on winning tournaments. I was too busy wanting to enjoy myself with my mates as well.
Yeah. So
I was trying to have like a balance, and then you were obviously getting married, and you were having kids as well, and that took up, that's the main part of your life as well. So I was never single-mindedness, but then you think to yourself, if you ever were that single-mindedness, all the other things could have fell apart. As it's happened with other sports stars now, that they become too focused in their career, and then they let everything else fall to the wayside. So I think, no, see, looking back, I think I've had a great life. Please. Yeah. I've had a great life.
By the way, I mean, that's amazing to hear you say that, about the alcohol, because you're a guy who's won 4 titles and lost 4 titles, 4 finals. That, was there one that you thought got away that you should have had?
I think there was one with Mark Selby that I think I was 10-4 in front, and there was 3 frames left of the session, and I lost the 3 of them. So if someone said to me at the start of the game, you're going to be 10-7 in front, going into the second day, you'd have bit the hand off them. But I think I was mentally down a little bit, because I'm thinking I could have had this one.
Yeah, was that 2017?
It was 2017, I think it was. And then Selby came back, it was really strong the next day. And then, just as we were talking about, I just sort of, my mental stamina sort of ran out, and he was getting stronger, and it just sort of petered away. But then there's another funny story when I played Mark Williams the following year, that I'd won my semi-final in the afternoon. I'd beat Kyron Wilson, I think it was, and I got a phone call from the person that I was renting an apartment from down in Sheffield, and they says, "John, sorry, we've made a mistake. We've booked this apartment out for 2 or 3 days."
Beat it.
And I'm thinking, what? I says, I'm down. I don't know if the guy knew I was playing the event or whatever, but he says, no. I says, well, listen, just to let you know, I'm playing in the World Snooker Championships. I says, the people that's maybe coming into this apartment, or maybe fans that are coming to I says, I'll put them in any other hotel, I'll pay for like their meals, blah, blah, blah. No, sorry, they want to come to this apartment. So I left that apartment on the night before the final, checked into a hotel in Sheffield. It was the only room. It was above a wedding band. There was a band playing. Honestly, I never get a wink of sleep all night, and then you're going out to play the next session with Mark Williams. And I think I was 4-0 down before I actually knew it was going on. So it's just little things like that the people don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. But Mark Williams played amazing that event. It probably wouldn't matter what would have happened, but I was walking about with my suitcase the night before, trying to book into a hotel before I could then because I'd booked the family, everybody coming down, I'd booked them into a different hotel, and I was going to be moving into that hotel with them for like the next 2 or 3 days. But that night before the final, I was walking about. Now, I think I was eating a fish supper in my car before I actually got to this other hotel, and then there was a band playing. I walked in, everybody's like, "Is that the snooker player?" But and that was just little things like that that you think if I could have stayed in my own environment, stayed concentrated, you never know what's going to happen.
That's a total derailment you've just said to me there.
These things happen.
Just out of curiosity, when when you mentioned there about the alcohol, was there a moment where somebody said, "Listen, John, you've been a bit of a prick here"? Oh
no, listen, I over the years, I probably knew that you probably can't handle your drinks some of the times, and you think you should have done it sooner, you should have just knocked it in the head sooner. But I thought to myself, no, I'm getting to that stage in my career where you're thinking the career could be over soon. Got to knock it on the head and then just try and give yourself a good go for however long that you were left in the career. And then that's when you do, when you knock it on the head, you think to yourself, God, you're not missing much. You're not missing much at all. And then you think to yourself, if that would have happened earlier on in your career, now what else would have happened? But listen, it's what happens.
No point in beating yourself up about it. The other thing I was going to say to you is, you mentioned that, and by the time anybody watches this interview, you could fall out of the top 16. You're still in the top 16. Do you think you've got another world title in you?
Listen, I would never say never, but I think that championship, it just emphasised, I think, it's the mental side of it. I think it's a long 17 days, and I don't know, as the players are getting older, we're still capable of playing at a really high level and competing with the best players, but I think it's just that roller coaster of the 17 days. Could you keep it under control? Could you keep it under wraps? And I think that's going to be incredibly hard for someone getting. I'll be nearly 50 next year, so it'll be incredibly difficult to do.
Is there a moment, or what is it that just takes the edge off you? I looked at your 4 finals. I mean, we're only talking 2019. You're in the final against Judd Trump. So is there a moment where suddenly you just feel that you're coming down the hill where it's age, it's concentration, it's family, it's other things, outside noise that suddenly means you can't reach the mountain again?
Well, there was one point, it was, I think, maybe the following year, I went back to the World Championships and I lost heavily to Mark Williams. And I was bigger than what I am just now. I'd lost I managed to lose a good bit of weight the last couple of years, but I'm beginning to put it back on again. But I couldn't get down physically on a shot. And that actually, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't get down to actually focus because I was carrying too much timber, and that was a wake-up call to me. So there and then I went back home, and my wife and her sisters, they went to like a spinning club, and I says, right, I'm coming tomorrow with these. And they just started laughing, and I was like, no, I need to do something, because if I don't do something, I could be finished at that level in the next year or two. That's what I felt. So I just put myself into it and lost about, I don't know, it was about 4 stone or something.
Wow.
Just to try to get myself a little bit fitter. And I think that has helped me a little bit to still stay now competitive, I think, at the top level.
Yeah. Is there a moment in your head, does a guy at your level look and say, okay, in the future, I think this is the point, or are you just going to wait till you sense it in your mind, time's up?
I think it will tell you. I think it will tell you. I don't think I'm there yet, know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
I don't.
But I think as other people would tell you in different sports and whatever things, I think it will be shining bright in your mind, I think.
Yeah, you're a big family man. How great was it? Your dad obviously must have been his proudest punch.
Aye, that's when I think back now and you think what you gave to your family. Obviously, like my dad was a big supporter of me, and he used to come to the tournaments. He was a manager. He would keep all the different people away from you and different things. And you miss that. You do miss that, because it was a part of you that, although as anybody would know with your dad and different things, you would have your crosswords sometimes, but they're always just there to be just for you. know what I mean? And you know they're never going to be doing anything wrong for you. So you miss that, and obviously I miss him incredibly. He was a massive part. He was a massive part actually on the snooker circuit because he was a character, and a lot of people behind the scenes, and a lot of the different fathers, a lot of the players' dads that used to go to the events. They used to have a great time. They used to go out for a few drinks when the players were tucked up in bed. They'd be out just having a good time as well. So,
yeah.
aye. So
was that the worst? Was that the worst moment in your life to deal with? As far as, you know, professionally, but obviously anybody who loses their mum or dad, it's devastating, but was it difficult in a period for your life to come to terms with it?
Oh no, yeah, and I really don't think I did deal with it in the following few years after it as well, that because the thing is, on the snooker tour, I was going back to the same events, I was going back to the same hotels, and I was just noticing, God, I was sitting there with my dad. I was in that restaurant with my dad, and he used to sit there watching me play. So there's just reminders everywhere. You could never sort of get away from it. It's just always there. So, but I think now you think back, and it's just good memories. You just think of and good stories, and there's so many stories that you can tell. But aye, he was a great man.
Is it? You said he was a character. Is there one that sticks in your mind that you just think you laugh even when you think
Oh,
of it?
there was one time. This is hilarious. That we were going out to a tournament in Thailand, and the players at that time, we flew business class because it was part of the contract that the people that you were flying out with. So I was like to my dad, like, I'll book you up with me, Dad. And he's like, son, I couldn't sit with you. He says, sitting with you and Hendry and Steve Davis, are you kidding me on? He says, I'll just sit with the rest of the dads and we can sit and have a few drinks in economy. And also, your dad's not want you to spend astronomical money when he can just... No, he says, I'll sit there, not a problem. So he's sitting there with Alan Hunter. So obviously the father, God rest him, Paul Hunter.
Yeah.
So Alan Hunter's never been on a plane. Right? So my dad is sitting having a few vodkas on the plane, and Alan Hunter keeps on getting up and going to the toilet. And he's like, and my dad knows Alan likes a good drink, and my dad's had a few nights with him. He's like, Alan, you don't want a wee drink? He's like, no, I'm fine, John, I'm fine. But he kept on passing my dad. So long story short, Alan said to my dad, young John must have slipped you a few quid, John. You're not getting the vodkas back. Now, how much are the vodkas on the flight? My dad said, what are you talking about? They're free. So Alan Hunter is then he says, what? They're free? So then he's ended up he's shouted like the air stewardess over, I'll have a vodka. So long story short, we've got to Bangkok. So all the players have come off and the dads. So we went through the security. So my dad and Alan Hunter haven't filled out the entry form, the entry visa to get into Thailand.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, they were going through with us. So I've proceeded to play the tournament. I've lost the tournament. And then as we're going back, we're flying back. As you're going through immigration, I went through passport. And then my dad's behind me. And then my dad's come through. He's not come through behind me. And I'm thinking, where is he? Now is he maybe went through another door? No, he's not went through another door. He's been huckled with the police because obviously he's not got the entry card to get into Bangkok. So they've got obviously they don't know my dad's been in Bangkok. So they've took him down to the police. There's a police station on the Bangkok airport. Yeah. And as he's going down the stairs, he can hear this guy crying. Who was it? It was Alan Hunter. Alan Hunter's in the cells in Bangkok airport. And Alan Hunter says, oh, John, you've come down to get me. My dad says, I'm bloody in beside you, what are you talking about? So it just goes to show you, I mean, I always think like my dad and Alan Hunter, God rest them, they were actually huckled. They were down in the Bangkok airport cells, and then they obviously they explained the situation. My son was playing the tournament, blah, blah, blah. And then they come up and me and my dad managed to get the flight back home.
The walk of shame.
That was it. I never told my mum for a couple of years.
It's out of the bag. You had a lovely rapport with Hendry, and by the way, God, Alan McManus loves you, doesn't he?
Aye, Alan. Now, as you said, we turned. They turned professional a few years before me, but as you said, when you're on the tour, although it's a singular sport, you do hang about. The Scottish boys hang about together. It'd be the same with the Irish boys. It'd be the same with the Cockney boys, because you've got an affinity with them.
Yeah.
And obviously one of my main my main big tournament wins was winning the World Cup with Stephen Hendry and Al McManus. But when we won the Snooker World Cup out in, I think that was in Bangkok, 1995 or 1996. We were out there for 2 weeks, spent a lot of time with each other. Aye, and as Alan just stays no far from me as well, so he's a great player.
Yeah, but it's nice when I see him and he's sitting as the pundit,
Right.
and he talks about you can just see it glowing out of him. You know, sometimes, you know, especially if it's an individual sport, you don't really want to, you know, bum somebody up. I mean, it's like Stephen Hendry apologising to you because he never sent you a well done winning the World Championship. And I'm thinking, oh, that's the measure of the guy. You know, great touch by Stephen, but Alan was just glowing in his praise for you. Is he your best pal in snooker?
On the tour, you'd have Alan that was on the tour. Hendry, you were never really that friendly with because he was...
He's in that zone?
He was probably in that zone, but he was maybe a little bit older. And he was for the East as well.
Yeah. You can't relate to a Jambo, can you?
So you were like that, you've both got the same... you're like, I don't get that, Stephen. No. But Alan, you've got Graham Dott over the years, you've got Steve Maguire, you've got Anthony McGill. Now, so we're all a tight bunch and probably all get the same sense of humour and different things. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because maybe I'm just biased because we're all brought up in the Lanarkshire area, but unless you've got, I can imagine it for me because I can be an annoying prick, you know, and pick a fight anywhere. But from your own point of view, was there anybody that rubbed you up the wrong way?
Mark Williams.
Yeah.
Over the years now when we were sort of growing up, because Williams, when we were younger, we were totally fine. But then, as I touched on earlier, I was with Ian Doyle for a few years, and then I left. But then Mark Williams joined up with the stable with Stephen Hendry and different things. So it was like a bit like them and us, because at the time I was near the top, fighting with Hendry and Williams and O'Sullivan. And there just always seemed to be a wee bit of niggle because of the likes of the Ian Doyle side, and they were like, he would probably be saying, stick it into that Higgins probably next time. So there was always, but now you're totally fine, because you say you grow up, you get kids, and you got on totally fine now, and I just think there has to be niggle, because you're fighting for the titles.
Yeah.
You can't all be friends, sort of thing. So you're fighting for the same titles, but no, now totally fine. Aye.
How did you deal with that whole class of '92 thing? Because as soon as they start putting you into this triumvirate, you know, there's 3 special players that you know, that are coming through at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's probably now near the end of the career that's when that is brought up so much more, and it is. Listen, it's a great class to be in with A2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, because two incredible players, two of the best that's ever picked up a cue.
What's Ronnie like?
Ronnie's all right. Yeah, I mean, as I said, so many people ask you that, and I could count in one hand how many times we've actually had a meal with each other. But we got on totally fine, cordial, whatever. Now, but no, never really been that close to him, or Mark for that matter. Because I think it has been because you were rivals for so many years. But admiration for the two of them and what they're still producing and winning big events. God, incredible snooker players.
Yeah. Is there anyone that had the Indian sign over you, that one that you just thought, oh, God, it's not only tough playing him, but I know what's coming here if I slip up?
I'd probably say Peter Ebdon had a wee bit of an Indian sign.
Yeah.
Aye, because he was so unorthodox. He was such a fighter on the table, but you didn't really know where you stood with certain shots. He would play kamikaze shots, but they were clever shots as well. So you were never settled playing someone like Peter Ebdon, and he always played well against me as well. So yeah, he was some man as well. He was crazy, but now lovely guy as well.
See, throughout your career, there's a moment where you you highlight, you know, I think maybe a 7-year period, maybe longer, 98 to around about 2007, where you just kind of lost your focus as such. Why do you think that happened? Was it the family? Was it a whole load of things? Yeah,
I think it was that, Peter. Yeah, like the family and coming to terms with being a dad as well. I think it's a big thing, and for now then you've got to be there for for your family. You've got to be providing for them. And I think that was like the wake-up call. It was really, I would say, from 2001 to about 2005, 2006. It was quite tough, I think, on the table.
Yeah.
And
because you were trying to be a dad.
Trying to be a dad as well, but you were also trying to still enjoy yourself as well. You think, and I've always documented saying I was always still trying to go to the football and watch football games, go and watch Celtic, and then invariably when you go and watch Celtic, sometimes your mates are there, you'll go and have a few drinks, and then on the Sunday they're maybe going back out again on the Sunday, and then you would say, right, I'll just come and meet you for another couple of drinks on the Sunday. So then on the Monday you don't feel like practising. And then, like, you think maybe in the Tuesday, Wednesday, right, I feel a wee bit better. You might practice for a few days, but then it comes round again. So it was a tough point in your life and in your period now on the snooker, because I think I looked at my snooker career saying, oh, that'll be there forever. Yeah. That's not a problem. I'll keep playing. But then when you're starting to lose, then I think round about 2006, 2007, it looked as if I could have dropped out the top 16, and I'm thinking to myself, no, you shouldn't be anywhere nearly dropping out the top 16. You've got to try and rededicate yourself. Now put your heart and soul back into the game. And then I think that's probably when I was my most successful. I think I won 3 world titles in 4 or 5 years.
Just by refocusing.
I think so. Yeah, and put more effort back into your practice and wanting it more.
I know you're a big family man. How do you juggle between, how does your wife handle it, your kids handle it? How do you you've obviously got to fly to a lot of tournaments as well.
Yeah. Oh no, listen, I could never have done it without now Denise, now my wife. She's such a rock for us as well, and she was always there. She was always a constant there with the kids, and she was always saying, look, just you go and do your best, and I'm there, I'm holding the fort, whatever, we're a team, whatever. So I could never have done it. Yeah. Never have still been playing if it wasn't for Denise, not at all.
You're a big football fan. Does John Higgins suddenly, who's world snooker champion, idolise certain players and think, whoa, I get a wee bit shaky in his company?
Oh, listen, any footballers?
Yeah.
Really, aye. Oh, no, you wouldn't believe it. I think any footballers, because football has been such a big part of your life growing up. And when you see some of them, you think, God, there's like Neil Lennon or Chris Sutton or Henrik Larsson or even like the other old folk, Barry Ferguson, different players. You think, God, they've been incredible players over the years.
Is there one that you actually were so looking forward to meeting? You know, sometimes they say you should never meet your heroes.
I can't say that. I can't say that.
Well, the funny thing is, my hero was Kenny Dalglish, and Ruffy had played that often with him. And I said, well, Kenny's coming on the show, and Ruffy's like, oh, he's shitting himself. And I'm saying, you played with him, what are you going? You know, but it's because Kenny's got such a dry sense of humour. You know, with a one-liner, Kenny was like Tommy Burns. He could boot you out into left field with a great funny line, and it just in case you were getting above your station, suddenly you'd go bang, because he'd that great one-liner, you know.
Well, it's funny because, like, I brought up Celtic fans, but my dad, he never really used to take you to many games. Although he was a Celtic fan, and his dad before him, my granda, like, he used to tell us the stories how he used to walk to Parkhead from Craigneuk. Now all the stories. But it was my uncle Mark McQueenie. He was actually the president of the Celtic Sports Club over in Kearney, New Jersey. Yeah. So he used to come back to Parkhead quite a lot. So he obviously had the Lisbon Lions and that staying in his house over there. So when he came back, he used to take me and my older brother into Parkhead. So back in the day, God, I had pictures taken with the McStays, Paul and Willie, Mark Reed, Tommy Burns, Brian McClare, Charlie Nicholas. So you had your pictures taken with all these guys that you thought, oh my God, that you watched on the terracing. And then it's when you fast forward later on in life, that I always tell the story that my first European game was a Partizan Belgrade game, and we lost 5-4. We went out, but we won on the night at Parkhead, and Jackie Jakinovsky scored 4 goals. Yeah. Then fast forward that to just a few years ago there, Tommy Boyd got me to play in the Celtic Legends game. It was Lubo's Legends versus Hendry Heroes.
Yeah.
And I was sharing the dressing room with Jackie Jakanowski, and I'm thinking to myself, I was sitting there, it was Cyril, and I'm thinking, this is surreal. And he's ended up coming off for me, and I've went on to play like the last 10 minutes. He's actually shook my hand, and I'm thinking to myself, life doesn't get any better than this. It does not get any better than this. When you think to a boy, I stood in the jungle that night, you fast forward all the years, and you're out there playing, and you've just shook hands with Jackie Jakanowski. It's incredible.
Yeah. Did you go to Seville?
I went to Seville, yeah.
Painful?
It was, wasn't it? It was. Went with my dad, my father-in-law, my brothers. We had a great team then. Great team with all the boys, and they'd done their best, but they come up against a good team in Porto, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who then obviously went on and won the European Cup the following year. But
no surprise that Martin and all the players say that they find it very difficult to watch that game. As a snooker player, do you go back over things and analyse it or look back over the defeats to learn?
No, I've never done that. No. I wish I maybe had that in me to do it. No, I've never done it. Actually, I did say to Kyrie Molson at the end of this game, and I've got something as I'm going forward this year. I've never practiced with the rest, and I must be one of the worst players on the tour with the rest. And it cost me a few times during that championship, and I was playing against Kyron, who's probably the best player on the tour with the rest. And I jokingly said to him at the end of, after congratulating him and hope he goes on and wins it and different things, I says, "Can you give me some tips with that rest, pal? Because I says I cannot play with it."
Yeah.
So he was laughing, but yeah, I need to practice with that this year coming into the new season.
I love the fact that you're 8 world finals down and you're saying, "Wait a minute,
I should have been doing it earlier, Peter. I know, but I know I've just never. That maybe puts my career in a nutshell. That I've never. That should be something that you watch other players and they're trying to perfect their weaknesses, and I've just went through my career just. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, in a strange sort of way, I was going to throw in a kind of a, comparison with a Georgie Best or a Jimmy Johnson, but it's very much like that because you strike me as somebody, because I know that you mentioned that you didn't really get somebody to coach you, because it might have, buggered your head up, so that raw talent and then just that belief and then that constant practicing has been the way you've got success.
Yeah. Well, I did this year. I tried like the sports psychology for the first time. I tried that in the last 4 or 5 months, and I did feel that helped me. That helped me. Yeah, it focused me and having better thoughts and just listening to someone else's take on it. And I think I will stick with that going forward. I think it's a big part to play.
What's the key message with that then? For somebody that's been at the absolute pinnacle of your career, what do they do to change a little bit of mindset?
I think it's maybe just to, I don't know if I'm saying the right word, refocus you, or it's to maybe, I don't know, to maybe confirm what you're doing is right, or they're maybe saying a few things to. It's hard to just pinpoint one thing, but I enjoyed having talks and speaking about the game, and I enjoyed that. So I think I would maybe, because I touched on a little bit earlier, it can be quite lonely. It's a lonely sport, and you can only take it for so long just on your own.
Yeah.
For that event there, my wife came down for all the event. It was brilliant because you could switch off for the snooker. You could do a little bit of shopping, although I was just carrying the bags, walking about. But it was just to go for a meal, go and see the cinema, just to switch off.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're there on your own, you're still focused on the tournament. You're still focused on games.
Yeah.
So it was good to have someone else there to switch off.
For all the highs that you've had, and obviously I don't want to get into the detail of it, but did the match fixing thing piss you off?
Of course it did, yeah. And listen, it'll never go away. Certain people saying certain different things. But the good thing is, from my point of view, I don't go on social media. I've never been one for any of that. So I know the people round about me and the people that believe in you and whatever that's fine. That's always been fine with me.
Are they the people in that bubble that kept you strong and kept
Of
faith
course.
in you?
Oh,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. So, and as you say, other players could maybe have certain different things to say and whatever. That listen, everybody's got their own thoughts and different things. But no, I'm totally fine.
And the funny thing is, with the negativity that surrounds that, every one of us in life will have a difficult thing to deal with in life. Did you flip that around to suddenly, refocus you when you get out there again, maybe prove a point to people?
Well, it did happen, Peter. Like I basically just refocused myself, but it was hard because I was going through. My dad was like terminally ill at that time. So, but I was wanting to try and just say, right, I'm going to just show everybody here, and I became a different person. I became ruthless off the table as well. That I was going into events, and I wasn't even talking to people. I was just going, and I was winning. I was winning the events, and I ended up winning the world title later on that year. And like my dad had passed like 3 months earlier, and in fact I won the Welsh Open. Like it was about a week after my dad had passed away. Like I wasn't going to go and play in it. And my mum says, "Look, son, what? Your dad would have loved you to go down and play in it. Your dad, listen, he wants all his kids to do well in life and whatever." He said, "Just go down and play." And I won that event just thinking, I'm going to show everybody here and I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
But it killed me inside because that wasn't the person who I was.
No.
I was blanking people and people maybe didn't deserve to be blanked, but I was just thinking, no, if I've heard he said this or if I've heard he said that, I'll stuff you. I'll just do my own thing. But nah, that was never going to last because, as I said earlier, guys like Davis and Hendry, who were serial winners and they had great careers, but they maybe only had it for like 10 years of total dominance, and then after that they fell away pretty badly. Whereas I think I went then back to just being my normal self, as if to say, right, John, you can't carry on like this. You've got to be back to being your own self, speak to people, and that's who you are, and don't shut yourself away. And that's maybe what kept you sane and then kept you still doing well in the game.
Yeah, sometimes winning the tournament's a great get it up you.
It is, yeah, no, of course it is, of course it is, but you don't need any of that to get it up certain people.
Yeah.
That was probably, they were making you into a different person.
Yeah.
So that I didn't want to be. So then you're thinking, now these guys can end up winning. So, no, forget about that and get back to.
You mentioned the loss of your dad. What was the best bit of advice he gave you? Because you must have been really close.
The best bit of advice was I'll always remember it, was I was asked to go and play in the World Under-16s. It was a World Junior event. It was a big event that Barry Hearn run back in 1991. It was like based alongside the Wimbledon tennis. It was like the men's singles, the women's singles, the mixed doubles, but there was a junior event, and I think I'd won a couple of the Scottish junior tournaments that I was awarded a spot in the event. So my mum says, my dad was away working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off the oil rigs. He was up in Aberdeen working. So my mum says, right, you better go in and ask the head teacher if you can go to go down to the tournament in Birmingham. So I went away in and asked the head teacher, Mrs. McDonald, I told her the situation, is it possible I could go down and play? And she says, not a chance. Now your studies are too important now, because I think I was in third or fourth year at the time.
Yeah.
So I went home and my mum says, well, that's it, you can't go, son, can you? So my dad was he was on the phone. He phoned later on and I explained. I says, Dad, Mrs. McDonald's not letting me go. He says, I'll be fucking... You're gone, son. You're going to that tournament where I've got to come back for the oil rigs. You're going down to that. And what it was just, you've got one chance in this life. You've just got to take it.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to my own kids as well, that you've got one chance and you've just got to give it everything. And if it doesn't work out, you can do something else. And that's what my dad says, you've got to go. And then I went down to the event, won the event, won £5,000, and that got me sort of noticed in the World Snooker stage. And then I turned professional the following year, and then I've never sort of looked back. So that one moment, my mum would have said, well, son, you can't go. Now Mrs. McDonald says you can't go. And my dad says, no, you're gone, son.
Well, you haven't seen Mrs. McDonald in 20 years. We've flown her in. Did she give you pelters when you went back?
Oh no, she was nice and nice.
nice.
The Daily Record came to do a piece with me. Oh, she was all smiles. And
that's good.
So God rest her. I think she's passed away now, but when you think, it's just all these memories, isn't it?
Could you have done anything else if you weren't a snooker player? No. Was there something that nothing else in your mind?
Oh, I would have loved to have played football. I played football as well when I was younger, and I always tell a story. I've met Charlie Miller a couple of times, and our team was drawn against his team in a Scottish Cup game. I think I was about 13 or 14, and my manager says, I played midfield. My manager says, right, John, you're up against a guy who's signed S forms with Rangers.
Yeah.
Just try and blah blah blah. Honestly, the whistle went, and I never seen Charlie Miller for the rest of the game. And that is one name that always stuck in my mind, Charlie Miller. I'm thinking, God, he was just incredible. And then obviously you've seen what he went on to do as a footballer.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, he can still do it at the fives as well. He's just such a wonderful player, Charlie.
Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions to finish, but for you, who's the greatest snooker player of all time?
Sullivan.
Yeah?
Hands down, Sullivan. Yeah.
Do you think he's got another one in him?
I would have said yes, but as I said, he's probably maybe one of the fittest men on the tour as well. He's into his fitness, into his run, different things, but it's the mental side of it.
Yeah.
You've probably seen him at this event cracking up at certain points, and that's what it does to you.
Yeah. What is it about him that makes him so special?
Just, I even said it when I first seen him at that junior event, that I knocked him out of the junior event back in 1991. But there was just something special. That's what people, you mentioned Kenny Dalglish, you mentioned different, there's just players that have got just that. I always likened him to the Ready Break man. I always said there was something round about him that just made him stand out for everybody else, and then he's went on to obviously cement himself as the greatest player. Yeah.
Because he had it all. Because when I listen to a number of snooker players, you get those little moments when they all have a chat and say, oh, well, this guy was great for his temperament, this guy was great for his safety play, this guy was great for his break building. Did he have all of that, or was there something else?
Yeah, not at that time, but he's perfected it. That's what I mean. You still see him, he's won all these events, and he's still bringing different coaches to the events. He's still bringing different mind people.
Yeah.
And you think, God, every credit, whereas I'm just sitting with a pot of lit night. So you say to yourself, God, you look up to people like that, you think, God, he's still trying to perfect it. And then, I suppose I'm maybe trying to now a little bit, but maybe that might be too late, who knows. But listen, no, for me, Sullivan's the best.
Yeah, it's funny. You've given me 2 or 3 images. John Higgins sitting in a car eating a fish supper. And you're just suddenly you can go on and win titles. It's magic. It's testament to your talent. Okay, I've got a couple of questions. First of all, this one, which is an important one because it's a real line in the sand moment. You've been lucky. By the way, see when you win the trophy, do you get a miniature trophy?
You've got to pay for that.
Do you? You got one?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah.
Or not 4, just one?
I just done the one. Yeah. You don't want to be too
not above your station, just in case you get West of Scotland. See, that's
just
your attitude.
Just the one.
Right, okay, just the one. You've got a miniature one. The question is the Crucible, because it's brilliant. When you look back over the images of a young, fresh-faced Stephen Hendry holding the trophy, I can still remember the Alex Higgins moment as well. And yours is holding it in that theatre that everybody associates with snooker, but not for long.
I don't think so. No, I think the powers that be will be, I suppose, selling it to the highest bidder. I think it's getting too big. I mean, people look at snooker and think, oh, it had its heyday in the 80s, which it certainly did, when the 18 million tuning in to watch Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor. But that's just not in comparison now to the total growth of the game round about the whole world now, especially out the Far East and even in continental Europe now, like with Eurosport as well, covering all the events. It's blown up, really.
Can you separate head and heart for it? Should it stay, or is it time to move on?
It's a tough one, isn't it? That is a tough one, but I think it's just became too big, and I think there's so many more people that want to go and watch it. So there's only 980 seats, I think it holds. So I would definitely say to anyone now, because I think it's 2 more or 3 more years left in the contract. You should definitely get there to actually watch it, because it's a special sport arena.
Yeah. And as a former world champion, is there other changes you'd like to see to make it a better sport?
That's difficult to say. I mean, people sort of liken us to darts, and they think that there should be more atmosphere and more walk.
I can't imagine you walking into your favourite song, and the razzmatazz of it all.
No,
That's not you.
No, you'd have to be 10 Guinness in, to be doing that. But it's a tough one. It is a tough one. People say maybe a shot clock. You can maybe add that in.
Yeah.
But other than that, the game is a game. I think that's why people love it. They just get so engrossed in the game. So yeah.
3 favourite wins.
Favourite wins, I would say, obviously my first world title in 1998. I don't want to say my last world title in 2011 because of everything that was happening with myself. And I would say the last time at the Wembley Conference Centre we played there, and I beat Ronnie O'Sullivan on the decider. I cleared up and beat him. I think it was 9-8 or 10-9. That was the last match that we ever played there. That was a special place.
Right, there's a lot more to come from you, I'm almost certain, but I'm now going to take you right out of your comfort zone, right? Okay. This is what we've done with pop stars, football legends, snooker legend like yourself. You're driving in the car, you're the driver, you've got 3 people, famous or not, living or dead, in that car with you, travelling across, let's just say it's Route 66 in America. The 3, who are you taking?
3, right. One of them, if you're saying American, is going to be J.R. Ewing.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be an American. You're just driving.
But you're driving taking like J.R. Ewing, because obviously I used to love Dallas when I was younger. And obviously when you got older, the party J.R. Ewing was incredible. Now when you see even wee clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'd have to say J.R. Ewing.
Do you remember who shot him?
Yeah. It was Kristen.
Yep.
It was Sue Ellen's sister,
Mary Crosby.
I was on Celebrity Mastermind, and that was my chosen subject.
How did you get on? How many?
I done well up to the general knowledge, and then it just went downhill. but no.
And Stephen Hendry, he loved Neighbours, didn't he?
He loved Neighbours.
He
loved Neighbours. Dallas was better than Neighbours. J.R. Ewing.
Right.
Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly,
Billy Connolly was just an icon.
Would you still be able to drive if he starts a story and then 20 minutes later he's getting back to it?
No, you could just be. You'd been that incontinence one that the audience with Billy Connolly. Every time you see it, it's just incredible. And who else? Frank Sinatra for singing.
Oh,
I love Sinatra. Love like the older, like the Rat Pack and different things. So that would probably be my 3.
Oh, that's good, because it brings me nicely on to, you've got to pick 3 songs that you would play in the car that you would never get tired of listening to. So,
right, God, any Sinatra, any one of his songs.
Right.
I just love listening to Sinatra.
Well, all 3 of them. I'm not giving you all 3.
No.
Give me one Sinatra.
Right, That's Life.
Right, that's good.
Life, right?
Okay.
And then one of the songs, I know we can talk about You'll Never Walk Alone and everything that's been like synonymous with Celtic and Liverpool, obviously, but Sunshine and Leith, the Proclaimers. Now, when I went Easter Road when I was younger and went there, and I'm thinking to myself, what's that song? They were playing it at half time, Sunshine and Leith. And then when they've won like the Scottish Cup against Rangers a few years ago, and you've seen the whole stadium, what a song that is, Sunshine and Leith. Luckily enough, I've met them. I went to see them do a show in Amsterdam, and the bass player actually bid at one of the charity events. I put 2 tickets to the World Championship this year, and he came down. And watched the snooker. So
you do know they hold a record. They're the only 2 brothers to have played in a European Cup final and never get a medal.
Is that right?
Because they played at Hampden in the 2002 Cup final when Real Madrid played Bayer Leverkusen. Right? It's a great quiz question. Keep that one in your head, for a noise up. You've got one more song left.
Is it? my middle boy's down in London now. He's trying to like make it into the West End. He's down doing musical theatre, and I love West End shows. And Les Miserables, like One More Day.
Yeah.
We went to see them live. We went to see the show live, and that just the hairs in the back of my neck stood up. So
I'd love that to be the song One More Day, playing as the montage when you get to the final again. It would be magnificent.
Oh, it would be great, yeah.
It would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
if there's any BBC executive out there, get that song ready for John to win the final. Okay, I've got two things to finish. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. It's been great. You've got a five-a-side team. You're going to have to pick your five-a-side team. So, of all the
Celtic,
all the players you've seen, you've got to be
all the players.
You've got to be open-minded. I mean, if it happens to be 5 Celtic players, then take it in the chin, because your mates are going to leather you.
I like them, but I couldn't say that.
Goalie,
best goalie. Listen, I always say
you've seen them. You must have seen them play.
Must have. Goalie, you don't really look at the goalies, but. Listen, I'm going to say Andy Gorham.
Yeah.
Because he broke your heart so many times.
Yep.
So I would put him in.
So you've got a great goalie to start with.
Aye.
What are you doing? Are you going with 4 attacking players, or are you going to be a wee bit... You going to go for safety, John?
No, I'll not go for... I'll say defender. Who could I put in defender that I've seen live? Tough one.
It is a tough one, isn't it?
I'll leave the defender just now. I've got to put in my midfield Zidane and Paul McStay. Paul McStay has always been like my hero growing up. And for live performance, I've seen Zidane. We were down at the Masters in London. France were playing England. And Zidane just, I think you'd Scholes, you'd Beckham, you'd Redknapp running about, McManus, and Zidane was just incredible.
Running the show. Yep.
Running the show, Zidane.
Striker?
Up front. God, up front. I'd have to give it to that wee guy with the tights, the Partizan Belgrade guy. See the guy who ended up breaking the broke up. No, you give it to Larson.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you have a word for yourself.
Give it to Larson.
Yeah.
Aye, Larson.
And your defender. You're one defender.
One defender. I'm going to put Big Sutton there because I love Big Chris Sutton, right? And he played so many positions with Celtic, whether it was centre half, midfield, or up front, and he always filled in even at centre half for us. So I'll put Big Sutton because I've got to get him in the team because I love Chris Sutton as a player as well. Okay, and my last part is we always hit the hour mark in conversation. You've got 3 snooker players that you want to have a right good night out with. Who's getting the invite? Who's getting the phone call from John Higgins to say, by the way, I'm having a wee party and I want you to be there. Right.
Now, remember this, John, when you name them, there's another 15 who are going to phone you at the end and go, what are you on about?
I've got to say Big Steve Maguire.
Yeah.
Big mate for Glasgow. Like, he's top player. He would still be standing in a night out, put it that way. I'd be away to bed and he would still be standing there. Who else? You probably wouldn't really know them now, like Andrew Higginson,
right?
A close guy. Like he just fell off a tour. Top guy, got on really well with him. And then another guy who fell off the tour, a guy, Big Marcus Campbell.
I know you're going to say Marcus. I know Marcus.
Who used to be a player, and Big Marcus, life and soul of the party as well.
Yeah.
They'd be the sort of guys. It would never be your Hendry or your Davises or that. There's no chance. So it would be they sort of guys. Yeah,
if I have one wish, one more day, one final with the whole of Scotland cheering you on. John Higgins, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Top man.
Thank you.